And welcome all to the Week 1 overview. Before we get started into the material, I want to take a little step back and start talking about kind of an overview of where you guys are going for your dissertation. So at this point, you've probably heard the word dissertation, and it's probably created much anxiety in you. And at this point, there's usually two groups: those who know exactly what they want to do their dissertation on, and those who have no idea how to spell dissertation or what the heck a dissertation is. I remember when I was getting near the end of my coursework and I knew I had to write this thing called a dissertation. I checked books out of the library trying to figure out what is a dissertation and what are we supposed to be doing. And my husband and I went to lunch one day and we're thumbing through these books trying to figure it out, and it can be overwhelming in the beginning. So what I'd like you to do is during this course, I want you, and it again, this is not part of the coursework, but it is in a way. I want you to start thinking about your topic. What might you want to do some original research on? And then as you're going through and you're having to do projects, let's say for our class, can you find research that would help towards your dissertation, but maybe in a different topic? And then, so one of the things that you have to do for your dissertation is explore all of the research in that area. Then you're going to look at this framework and sample this small area that you're going to look at. And so that's kind of where we're going. Let me see if I can clarify this a little. A friend of mine who was from Ukraine, she did cancer research at the VA hospital in Long Beach. This is when I worked at Cal State Long Beach. And what she would do is she was looking at some sort of, I never even wanted to know what she did because it had something to do with bowel and I really didn't want to hear about it. But it was some sort of very specific cancer that she was looking at. So what she would do is she would come to the United States, go to the VA hospital, and she would run some experiments. She would take about a year to run all of her experiments, and then she would publish what she found. Now, when she published, all the other researchers in her area would then look at what she was doing, and then they'd say, okay, this is what she found, this is what she didn't find, and then they would take it the next step. And then they would say, okay, based on what she found and everybody else who's researching right now, let's try this. She would be gone for 2 years back in Ukraine. Meanwhile, she's reading what all these other researchers are experimenting and trying and finding and not finding. And then she'd develop her next experiment. She'd come back to the States, she'd run it, and then this keeps going year after year. It's everybody building on everybody else's research. So one of the things that as you're heading towards your dissertation, after you pick your topic, and you don't have to have a topic yet, but after you pick a topic, then it's a matter of finding out who are the main researchers who are doing that kind of work in your industry. So if you're studying psychology and you don't know who Freud is, you're probably not doing too well, because you've got to get to who are the seminal thinkers in your field and then who have been the more modern thinkers. For us, it's more thinkers than lab research. And so start looking at that as you're going through your areas and start trying to see, are names coming up? Are people coming up? Ideally, as you're getting closer, you can actually make a phone call to these people and talk to them, find out what they're doing. Do they have data sets that can help you? But you've got to get into, keep kind of nuzzling into that niche that's going to be very specifically yours that you could do some research on. Then as you're doing that, as you're trying to find that niche, and the saying is don't marry your topic. Just kind of date a topic and then break up if the topic's not good to you anymore, and then move on to something else. There are people who from day one in a doctorate program find their topic, and either they do or they think they're going to stay with that topic forever and ever, amen. More often than not, they don't. It doesn't last. So find a topic that you think you can live with for a while, because the experience of the research is really what you're going after. So you need to have, your rule of thumb is that your topic will continue to change, or at least evolve. So you want to make sure that you're rolling with it. And then if you've ever looked through a prism, look at the sunlight through a prism and all the different colors that come out. You begin taking that topic and turning that prism and looking at it differently and differently and differently. So what is my topic through the lens of collaboration? What is my topic through the lens of budget? What is my topic through the lens of whatever class you're in? So if you pick a general topic that you're finding interesting, then gear all of your research into that. Your big thing is that your lit review and everything that you're building on in every class, every piece of literature you're finding is going to be kind of this wealth of knowledge that's going to lead you to your next discovery, which would be the dissertation. All right, this is called Bloom's taxonomy. Do not worry about this. Do not memorize this. Do not, this has nothing to do with anything, but it helps me illustrate a point. Bloom's taxonomy at the bottom has to do with Bloom and his team in like the 1950s would talk about how do we measure the levels of knowing or the levels of knowledge. So what they said is that the lowest level down there in purple is that people remember things. So if you think about an undergrad test, I remember that the knee bone is connected to the whatever bone. I remember that. Okay, good. That's the lowest. This is kind of Scantron test. First president of the United States was George Washington, B, Ben Franklin, C, whatever. I remember it was George Washington. So that's remembering. The next level up is, do you understand it? So I remember that Woodrow Wilson wrote a study of administration in 1887. I know that his theory was the politics-administration dichotomy. All right, remembering. Do I understand it? Well, let me think. The politics-administration dichotomy means the politicians are on one side and they make the laws, the administration's on the other side and they implement the laws. Yes, I understand the dichotomy and I can explain it to somebody. The next level up is, can I apply it? Now we're in that green area, we're kind of at a master's degree. I would say the bottom two levels, you're at a bachelor's degree. Now I'm beginning to apply it. Well, let me see. Does that really hold true when the fire department wants the politicians to change a law about capacity or smoking or fireworks on 4th of July? Or do the politicians get influenced by the public administrators, more similar to how Goodnow believed? Well, now I can apply this one theory into other types of situations, application. When we're getting into a doctorate, we want to be up into those top levels. We want to be able to create something new. So this is a theory of collaboration, let's say. I'm going to have a definition. I remember the theory. I understand what it is, and I can apply it to a situation at work. Great, you're at a master's level. But now, you know what? That theory is a little outdated and needs to be tweaked. It needs to have something else. We need to include more variables, more factors. Now we're up into this creating and analyzing and evaluating. Those are the levels that at a doctorate level, every paper you write should be up there. So at this point, I never want to know what the book says. The book is going to defend you. The articles you read will defend you, but you are now creating music that nobody else has ever, you're writing songs nobody else has ever written. You're now using all of this. If you think about music, you're thinking about all of the technique you learned in playing your instrument, all of the theory you learned about, key signatures and time signatures, and you know all of this, but all of that is just made for you to write your own piece of music in a way that nobody else has ever done it before. And so it's your voice. With everything you've learned and everything you've experienced, it's something that's inside you that now gets to come out in a very powerful way. So that's what I'm expecting when you're writing for this class is perfection, basically. That's all I want. Is just everybody be perfect or at least head that way. That's all I'm looking for. But I want to see you taking the concepts. I don't want you regurgitating anything. I want you to get in there and I want you to create something that's never before been created. So, what is collaboration? I need you to seek out those answers. Please, please do not seek out those answers from Wikipedia or the dictionary or anything. At a doctorate level, we never look to the dictionary or an encyclopedia or anything like that for definitions. If I want definitions, I need to go to scholarly articles, academic peer-reviewed articles, and I need to find out what all of those researchers who are specializing in collaboration, just like my friend who did cancer research, all of those people who specialize in collaboration, I need to know how they are defining collaboration or network governance. And then I need you to start thinking, do you agree or disagree with them? Because no more at a doctorate level, no more are you taking anybody else's opinion on anything. You are the top of the field. You guys are the cream of the crop, and we are looking to you for answers now. So you need to look at, so again, if my friend went and did some cancer research, the people who are coming after her are not just going to be able to tell me what she did. They got to tell me what she did and where it might have fallen short, because obviously it didn't work, otherwise she would have cured it. So it's not a matter of just being able to really adeptly tell me another piece of research, but it's to put that next level on it. And you can't do it with one article or one piece of research. So you're taking her research and his research and that person over there, and you're combining it all into a way to create those new ideas. So in this class, when we're thinking about collaboration, we're going to focus a lot more on the public-private collaboration, public agencies working with private companies. But collaboration can also be public-public. It could be states working together. It could be counties working together. It could be the county working with the federal government. So it could be public and public. Public and nonprofit, maybe social services being delivered by nonprofit organizations. And I'd like to challenge you guys, because this is not in a lot of the literature yet, but the public and private individuals, not private companies, but individuals and communities. And although those could kind of fall into the public-private category, when we usually talk about private, we're usually talking about private for-profit companies. But could the public work with community groups? Not necessarily a formal nonprofit, but just community leaders or communities. Anyway, we'll talk about that in just a minute, but I want you to explore this and come up with your new ideas on this. And again, as a doctoral student, you're not just coming up with your gut instinct, but you're seeking out the literature of other people who are working in that area, and what are they saying, and how can they defend what you're saying and support what you're saying. So if you remember, if you have the classics book, the Classics of Public Administration book still handy, I'm not sure if you had that in one of your first classes. If not, you may want to look up Graham Allison's article, the one about public and private organizations. Are they alike in all unimportant ways? So if you're going to deal anything with public and private sector, Graham Allison's is a good article to kind of build on that. By the way, this week, because it's the first week, I am giving you the actual PDF of the article that you're going to need. From here on out, you guys are the best, among the best researchers in the world, and you can find your own articles. I know you can. So from here on out, just to give you lots of practice, I will give you the article citation, and then you guys can go out and find it, because that should be a slam dunk for you guys. And I want you to have that experience of being able to find any article anywhere, anytime, because you guys are that cream of the crop. All right, there is a concept called public-private partnerships. All right, and this kind of buzzword, you can see the P3 down there, public-private partnerships. These are, and again, this can work in with this concept of collaboration. They're usually long-term contracts, typically over 20 years, between public and private entities for the provision of public services. So that's really the key for this class. is a collaboration or network governance that has to do with the delivery of public services or the implementation of a law or a policy or something along those lines, which is we can collaborate. My church can collaborate with that church. My group can, my family can collaborate with another family. That's all truly collaboration. But for our purposes, it is going to be collaboration, a niche of that's going to have to deal with the provision of public services. So that's the anchor for this class. Okay, so where were we? Typically over 20 years between public and private entity for the provision of public services in which responsibilities, you can read that as liability also, and rewards are shared. So things like the creation of roads. If you think of something like the toll roads over in Orange County, there are private toll roads that help what the government needs to do. If they needed to alleviate traffic on the 91 freeway, well, either the government could do it themselves, or the privates could do it, or they could work together. So these are ways that in order to achieve a public service, which might be the reduction of traffic on the 91, the public and the private work together. The delivery of electricity, water, education, transportation, any of these things, and many, many more, could be a public and private partnership. I don't want you too hung up on the words, but I want you to start exploring these concepts in a lot more depth. Now, let me go back to your dissertation. Let's say your dissertation is on compliance of, something or other. Okay, so, or let me see, what can we do? Compliance of organizations with audit procedures. Well, what does public and private partnership have to do with that? But find an angle. If you're dealing with foster children, if you're dealing with whatever it is, obesity for epidemics or something like that, now take your topic and say, well, let me just look at that through the lens of collaboration, and is there something there? And so you can pursue that very specifically. That would get you literature during the class. That could help for your dissertation and help you maybe look at it a different way. Maybe not, but at least it'll get you a good focus that you might enjoy. Okay, models of PPP. I've got this video here. It's about 12 minutes long. The woman on there has an accent. It's not too difficult to get through it, but it is subtitled if you have any trouble understanding her. But what she's going to talk about is a couple of different models of public-private partnerships that range from having more control to the public side to kind of balanced control or responsibility to maybe more likened to the private ownership of something. So this is a good investment of 12 minutes. It's not something you have to sit down and necessarily take notes off of, although you could. You could maybe even be folding laundry while the video is playing. I think that would be okay, and then pause it whenever you want. But it's something that I would recommend is worth seeing. The other thing that I'd like you to explore possibly is we can look public-private, that's fine. But I want you to maybe also look government to government. And for those of you who don't remember those concepts of federalism, the two types of federalism are dual federalism and cooperative federalism. Cooperative is much more of what we have now. This is a short 9-minute video. It's called a crash course video. And I would say it's really intended for high schoolers, but I don't know. I tend to like them, so hopefully you would too. If it's too much refresher for you, don't worry about it. But if you want a quick, easy refresher on federalism in 9 minutes, this will walk you all the way through and maybe give you different ideas. Again, you're not going to ever quote this video because the concepts are too elementary. But it might help you think, well, wait a minute, what about like FEMA? What about Department of Education, the Federal Department of Education, State Department of Education? What about the school boards? How does all of this work together? How do we collaborate? Or do we even collaborate? Is this only mandates? So again, hopefully questions will come up, but then this video might spark a little bit about government to government types of collaborations. And remember, it could be public nonprofit, and it could be public with community and individuals. So, for example, my husband and I are licensed for the amateur radio service. It used to be called ham radios, if any of you are old enough to remember that word. Ham as in ham and eggs, Ham. And so we know how to run ham radios. We know how to work radio communications. So we volunteer. We are actually technically volunteer firefighters for San Bernardino County. And in the event of a major, let's say, fire, the wildfires, things like that, my husband and I will get activated, and we will have to go to wherever we are deployed to. It might be the fire line. It might be the emergency operations center. It might be, what are those, the centers. I wish you guys could talk to me right now. I was going to say refugee centers. That's not evacuation centers. Thank you, whoever just thought that for me. So evacuation centers, we might be stationed there, and we run radio communication. What that does is it frees up the firefighters to do firefighter types of things we are the ones who are more so than even the fire department. Here you have a team of 50 or 100 of us, all skilled in how to erect, antennas, off of our cars, how to get communication when nobody else can. If their radio system goes down, their satellite phones go down, the 911 system goes down. In the event of an earthquake, anything that can disrupt landlines and cell phones, we are the ones still communicating. We will always be able to communicate with our radios. So we volunteer, and it is a partnership with the San Bernardino County Fire Department, but we as individuals volunteer. There's no nonprofit. There's no private agency. There's a whole other realm of community members helping. Do I want to always use the word volunteer? I don't know. But there could be a collaboration that's a whole nother area. The books that you have in this class are only going to scratch the surface. Your ideas have to go well beyond whatever you're reading. Your imagination has to take you to that next level. No longer are you reading a book and regurgitating what it says. So it's hopefully the beginning, either the videos or the lectures or the books, all of those things are the spark to build your flames off of that. So hopefully we're giving you ideas. I don't have these answers on collaboration. If I did, I'd be, writing the books. Just like if, the teachers who teach people how to do cancer research, they don't know how to do cancer research. We can guide them into the process of research. We can guide them into how to do this kind of experimental design. But we don't have the answers of curing cancer, otherwise we would have already done it. So I have no answers for you, but I can certainly guide you through your process so that you can be the next people who are creating the new theories, finding the next answers that humanity needs. That's the goal here. And, perfection. Did I mention that? Or did I mention that? Yes, perfection. All right, so this week you want to read the Donahue text, which is the foreword in chapter 1. And again, let it sink in. So read a little, think a little, read a little, think a little. This is really about kind of, me time. This is about you thinking, you doing a lot of thinking now. And then Linden part 1. Then the Ansel and Gash article that I have posted, you're welcome, this week for you. From here on out, you're going to find the articles, which you will have no trouble with through the library. And then I want you to locate lots of scholarly articles related to things that interest you on these topics. So as you read the Donahue book, what is it sparking? What's another idea that you're thinking of that might be a new idea, but let's see, did anybody else write on that? So now get into some scholarly articles. Easy way to do this is going to Google Scholar, which is scholar.google.com, and just type in a couple of your search terms and see, is anybody doing answering the kind of questions you're having or the kinds of ideas you're having. So again, think very broadly about this concept. And every week, just get in the practice of nailing down 5, 6, 7, 8 more scholarly articles on some sort of topic related to what we're doing that week, but maybe tangentially related to your topic, your dissertation topic. There is a PowerPoint notes file that's posted here, and it's just notes that we had created for you from the readings. So it's really not anything instructional as much as maybe a guide as you're reading through the books to kind of look at some key topics and maybe read those sections a little more carefully. All right, we've got an introduction discussion board this week. I'd like you to take a few minutes to introduce yourself to us. If you guys know each other already, then just share something interesting maybe that people don't know about you yet. And again, this doesn't have to be, I don't want necessarily your resume on this one, just something fun about yourself. Then I would like you to upload a picture to your post. Any picture is fine. It can be of you. It could be of your dog or cat. It could be your favorite sports team logo. It could be just a random photo off the internet, someplace you've been, someplace you want to go. Just a way for us to get to know you. But the big thing is I want to make sure everybody can post and everybody can upload. I want to make sure all that can happen. Then I want you to greet at least one other student in class. You guys are tight, you guys know each other. If you can greet everybody, that's wonderful, not necessary, but just a way to begin building that community. And then if you haven't done so already, if you can please click your name in the upper right-hand corner, way up above Blackboard, or at the top of Blackboard, you should see your name. And then if you haven't put a picture there, there should be just this blank silhouette. If you could please click on that, work through the menu items, and put a photo there. Again, any photo will do. A picture will do. This way, when you're posting, we don't have this blank silhouette, and it looks a little more colorful, a little more like we know each other. We can kind of see each other's picture. It's for those of us who are visual people, it's helpful. There will always be each week an Ask Your Instructor discussion board. It is up there. If you have any questions regarding the class or coursework, please feel free to post it in this discussion area, because if you have the question, somebody else does too. And if it's at midnight and somebody else needs the answer, hopefully they can go there and already find it. If what you had, your question or your issue is of a personal nature, of course, please email me. But if it is something class related, please just post it in the Ask Your Instructor area. This week we're doing a self-assessment blog. So this one, I'd like you to identify a collaborative effort in which you've been participating or you have participated. And what was the mission or goal of the collaboration? Rather than giving me the mission statement, which probably says nothing, just in plain terms explain to me what the goal was in everyday terms. Describe your role in the collaboration. And we're going to look at this one really broadly. If you have not been in a government collaboration, but you have been in a church collaboration, or you have worked with other family members to get a family reunion, which I think would probably be one of the toughest collaborations, that would be fine. We'll use the term real broadly for this particular point. In your opinion, was the effort successful? Why or why not? And that's all the self-assessment blog is this week. Due on Sunday night. And we're going to have one discussion board. This is off of the Ansel and Gash article. I want you to choose either the 5 variables that impact the success of collaboration or the 4 factors that impact success in collaboration. So the variables are the factors. And then identify one or more of the items in the category you choose, and provide your thoughts on how those variables contribute to the pillars of legitimacy and/or accountability. And hopefully you remember the pillars from the earlier classes. And defend with scholarly sources, and please use APA on this. So I want you to pull in some outside sources. There's nothing you should be doing at the doctorate level where you are not every week looking through other scholarly articles and getting to know your colleagues out there, your friends and neighbors who are writing on similar things that you're writing on. So grab a couple, I don't want to give you a set amount, couple of scholarly articles. For example, I just wrote an article on something called Subotnik, which is, we're going to call it, quote, voluntary, I'm using air quotes over here, voluntary participation in the former Soviet Union. And so I spent 3 months doing my lit review, actually less than that, but let's go with 3 months of doing the lit review, because at that point I needed to have found every article ever written on that topic, but it's a very small, narrow topic. So you're trying to exhaust when you're doing, especially the dissertation down the road, whatever area you're on, you've got to exhaust so the same people keep coming up. You keep bumping into the same people over and over who are doing research in that area. If they're still alive, you definitely want to talk to them while you're going through the process. If you have forgotten APA, which hopefully you have not, this video, it's 10 minutes long, will walk you through how to format your paper to make it look very, very APA. So please look at this video. And if you do that, you will have a nicely formatted paper. It won't go into everything about APA, but it will go through that. Okay, in the future, some of the assignments are going to require you to do some sort of audio and video types of work. And it could be something like what I'm doing right now, where there's audio and you're seeing slides move and there's random pictures and things like that. You can use any software that provides a link to your presentation. So you can, if you're comfortable recording in PowerPoint, which is what I like to do, that's fine, but you need to post it on YouTube. Like, don't upload the PowerPoint file because they become so massive and it becomes problematic. So if you're going to record PowerPoint, if you don't know how to do that, but you want to learn, start looking at that, just go to YouTube and you'll find a bazillion, type in, recording PowerPoint and your version of PowerPoint, and a bazillion different tutorials will come up. And then you're going to have to set up an account if you don't already have one on YouTube that you can link it to. And this way we just click the link. There's other software, one's called Screencast-O-Matic. I'd like you to look at that one if you haven't looked at it. And there's tutorials there. And then there's another one that I think the syllabus calls out, which is VoiceThread, and there's a link there. I'm actually open to anything that will get you some sort of presentation like you're listening to right now. That will be fine. But if you have time this week, assignments aren't too heavy this week, you might want to take this time to invest in making sure you're really comfortable getting, by video, it doesn't have to be video of you, but a video as in things move on the screen and you're narrating. All right, if you have any questions during the week, please post it and ask your instructor. And I look forward to this journey of the next 8 weeks with everybody. And in the meantime, have a very blessed and wonderful week.